Chapter 932. However, before she could get close, the students gathered at the foot of the main peak noticed her. "Look! There, he's over there!" In an instant, almost everyone turned to look at her. Their eyes were filled with anger, as if she had done something that would incur the wrath of the heavens and the resentment of men. "What's going on?" She raised an eyebrow. Sitting on the flying feather, she slowly flew over their heads, intending to go to the ovens to find something to eat. However, at that moment, someone picked up a stone and threw it at her. "Kill him! How can a student from a 6-star academy be our instructor?" "That's right. Kill him. I heard that the cultivation Holy Land's spiritual power was overdrawn by him. He caused us to be unable to cultivate for several years. He cut off our cultivation resources. He's not human. He's courting death. Kick him out." In an instant, one stone after another was thrown up from below. Because the students below were all cultivators, the height and strength of the stones were not just for fun. Fengjiu watched as the stones rained down. Because she was caught off guard, a stone hit her foot. The pain made her furious. With a whoosh, she flew up into the air on the flying feather, glaring at the crowd below. "You've gone too far. How dare you throw stones at me? Do you have any respect for your elders?" It would have been better if she hadn't said anything. Now that she did, in addition to throwing stones, some even turned around and flew at her on their swords. Seeing the stones and flying swords coming at her, she coldly snorted. "Since you don't have any respect for your elders, I'll teach you a lesson." As soon as her voice fell, she stood on top of the flying feather sword. With a wave of her sleeve, it seemed as if there was powder floating down from the sky, all the way from the foot of the mountain to the top, not letting a single one escape. Then, with a wave of her hand, the 2 flying swords that were attacking her stabbed into the crotches of the 2 flying sword students. The 2 students only felt a sharp chi blade coming at them. A cold light flashed in front of their eyes, and they felt a chill between their legs. When they looked down, they were so scared that they broke out in a cold sweat. The sword chi had cut a large hole in the crotch area of their pants. Even their pants had been cut open. If the wound had been any deeper, their genitals would have been cut off as well. The 2 sucked in a breath of cold air, and instinctively clamped their legs together. Their faces were pale as they looked at the red figure in the sky. They really didn't know whether to thank him for showing mercy or say that he was too ruthless. "Hiss! It's so itchy. What's going on? Why is it so itchy?" "Me too. My whole body is itchy. What's going on?" "It's itchy." Hearing that the people below had stopped throwing stones and were scratching their heads, Fengjiu snorted and watched calmly. Go against her? Wasn't this asking for a beating? On the main peak, the principal and the vice principal heard the commotion and came out to take a look. Seeing the students of the academy lined up from the main peak all the way to the foot of the mountain, they couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment before shouting in a deep voice, "What's going on? What are you all crowding around here for?" His voice, which contained spiritual energy, spread through the air and clearly entered the ears of the students on the mountain and at the foot of the mountain. At this time, the crowd had already forgotten that they had been shouting to chase Fengjiu out. They were just scratching their itches and cursing at the same time. "Fengjiu? Why are you here?" The principal saw Fengjiu in the air and asked. Chapter 933. Listening to Fengjiu's aggrieved words, the dean and the vice headmaster's mouths twitched. In this short period of contact, they already knew that this Fengjiu was not the type of person to suffer losses. How could he be bullied? No one would believe it if they said it out loud. Glancing at the students on the mountain, the dean helplessly asked, "What did you do to them?" Hearing this, how could the people who were scratching their skin not know that this was Fengjiu's doing? So, one by one, they angrily cursed. "Fengjiu, you actually used medicine. Fengjiu, you are despicable. You used medicine on them?" The dean was speechless. Such a large group of people. He actually sprinkled medicine on them? Where did he get the medicine from? Of course I have to teach them a lesson for not respecting their teachers. It's just that teaching them one by one is too time-consuming. I'll just make them itch for 4 hours. Don't worry, they won't die. She smiled as she stared at the students below. Quickly give us the antidote. Give us the antidote. Hearing this, she chuckled. I am really sorry, I don't have the antidote for this thing, but you can find the Academy's doctors to cure it. Of course, the premise is that they can cure it. Listening to the confidence in his words, as well as looking at his arrogant and proud face, the dean and the vice-headmaster could not help but look at each other. Their minds coincidentally remembered the warning of the vice-headmaster of the 6-star academy. He said, it was not that he did not want Fengjiu to stay, but he was afraid that if Fengjiu stayed, it would cause them big trouble in the future. He was afraid that in the future, the atmosphere of the 2-star academy would be foul, and he was afraid that they would regret it in the future. At that time, they thought that he just did not want such a heaven's pride to stay, but today, they suddenly had a bad premonition. Fengjiu, before the dean could finish his words, he saw the youth standing on the flying feather flick his sleeves. With a smile on his face, he asked, Dean, I want to find something to eat. Where is the 2-star academy's ovens? Over there, however, as soon as the words left his mouth, he gaped in shock. Just when he was about to say something, Fengjiu waved his hand, then stepped onto a flying feather and shot off in the direction of the ovens. Before he could say anything, the words were stuck in his throat. The dean sighed helplessly as he looked at the students who were complaining about the itch. He turned to the vice-dean beside him and said, Go and take a look at the students. Let the students and instructors from Yao Peak take a look at them. As he spoke, he shook his head and turned to leave. Seeing this, the vice-headmaster had no choice but to go and check on the students. As for Fengjiu, as soon as she arrived at the ovens, she could smell the delicious aroma wafting out from within. She couldn't stop herself from drooling. However, before she could even get close, she was stopped by the 2 guards guarding the ovens. The ovens is an important place. If you're bored, you're not allowed to enter. I'm not an idler. I'm a teacher. She took out the jade medallion that represented her status as a teacher and waved it in front of the 2 guards. When she saw the astonished expressions on their faces, she smiled. The dean sent me here to bring the food for him and the vice-dean. Why would an instructor come here to bring food? The 2 guards asked suspiciously. Normally, we bring food to them. However, they couldn't be wrong about the identity medallion of an instructor. Chapter 934. Seeing this, the 2 men looked at each other and nodded. One of them turned around and walked in. Not long after, he came out with 2 food baskets. This is for the principal and the vice-headmaster. Okay, thank you. She smiled and squinted her eyes. Carrying the 2 food baskets, she turned around and left. Seeing Fengjiu leave, the 2 men shook their heads and did not think much about it. They continued to guard the entrance, and did not let anyone else come near. Fengjiu carried the 2 food baskets back to the Immortal's cave. When he opened the food baskets, his eyes lit up. Sure enough, the principal and the vice-headmaster's food is really good. TSK, this 2-star academy's food is really good. Even in the 6-star academy, no one eats this well. What a rich taste of ginseng. Is this 100-year ginseng stewed with black spirit chicken? It is said that black spirit chicken is the best of the best. It is very nutritious. As she spoke, she took a spoon and drank a bowl of soup. In the end, she directly rolled up her sleeves and ate. After about half an hour, she was full and saw that there was still a lot left. She gave some to the 2 beasts, Tun Yun and Lao Bai, to eat. Phew! I'm so full. She touched her belly and walked out of the Immortal's cave. Looking at the sky, she thought about it. She would leave tomorrow and leave today as well. Why not leave now? And, after making up her mind, she went back to the Immortal's cave and took Tun Yun with her. Taking advantage of the night, she left the academy. As for this day, the principal and the vice-headmaster were busy with the affairs of the students. However, they saw that tonight's dinner had not been delivered yet. They could not help but frown. They sent someone to hurry up, but the result made them very surprised. "Fengjiu, that brat!" The principal exhaled and helplessly cursed. The vice-headmaster beside him also shook his head and smiled. "I heard the guard report that Fengjiu went out. It's good that he left. That brat will really cause trouble if he stays in the academy. Sigh, I can only hope that he really has some ability to bring those 4 people back." Several days later, in a forest on the outskirts of the imperial city of the Qin Kingdom, one of the second-tier countries, over 100 palace guards stood guard around the forest with swords hanging from their waists, not allowing anyone to approach. Not only that, but there was also a restriction placed by a nascent soul cultivator that prohibited flying. A purple-robed youth sat atop a flaming lion with his chin raised. The lion's feet were covered in flames, and with each step it took, the flames burned a footprint on the ground. It was a flame lion at the peak of the Saint Beast realm. It was covered in armor and exuded a majestic and domineering aura. However, it was as docile as a cat when it was ridden by the young man. As for that young man, although he had an air of nobility, he didn't have a handsome face. What he had was a chubby baby face. He looked harmless, but the light that occasionally flashed through his eyes would cause one's heart to tremble. 10th Prince, the prisoners on death row have been escorted over. A middle-aged man beside him said respectfully. With a wave of his hand, a group of imperial guards escorted 10 death row prisoners forward. The baby-faced youth stared at them for a long time, then said, "I will give you all a chance to live." When they heard this, the 10 hearts trembled, but they did not say anything. They just stared at the young man in front of them. When they were locked up in the death row prison, they knew that they had no choice but to die. Now, he actually said that he would give them a chance to live? Regardless of whether it was true or not, it made their hearts beat rapidly. Chapter 935. The youth smiled, revealing 2 small dimples on his cheeks. His eyes sparkled with excitement as he said, "This is a game called Ghosts Are Here. You've never played it before, have you? This humble prince will be the ghost. If you can hide well and avoid being caught by the ghost, you can naturally live. If the ghost catches you, this humble prince doesn't need to tell you what the outcome will be, right?" The 10 people were startled, unable to believe what they had just heard. They had thought that they were brought out to be executed. They never thought that the 10th prince would bring them here to play a game called Ghosts Are Here. That was a game for children. Now, they actually had to play with him? "As long as we don't get caught, we can live?" One of the prisoners on death row asked incredulously. He couldn't believe that such a way out was placed in front of them. "That's right. As long as you don't get caught by the ghost, of course you can live." The young man happily stared at the 10 people and memorized their faces. In the next moment, he pulled out the sword hanging from his waist, and with a swoosh, he untied the ropes on their bodies. "All right, the game has begun. You guys should quickly run away. I won't look at you. I'll count to 100 and it'll begin." As he spoke, he leaned forward childishly and leaned on the flaming lion's body. He even used his hand to block his line of sight. 1, 2, 5, hearing the voice counting, the 10 people quivered and abruptly ran in several directions. In a short while, they had disappeared without a trace. The guards behind the young man looked straight ahead, as if they were already used to the young man's absurd behavior. Each of them stood at a distance and listened to the young man count while lying on the flaming lion. However, when he counted to 30, his voice stopped. The youth on the flaming lion raised his head and narrowed his eyes. He stared in several directions and revealed a strange smile. "Playing ghosts during the day? Where's the fun in that? It's more exciting when it's dark." As he spoke, he lazily stretched his back, intending to let the people who were hiding wait until they were frightened out of their wits before he went out to search. However, at that moment, he faintly smelled a fragrance. Which one of you brought barbecued meat? Why is it so fragrant? The youth turned around and glanced at the people behind him. In reply to the 10th prince, we didn't bring any. Hearing this, the youth patted the flaming lion's head and walked forward, saying, All of you wait here. Don't run around without my orders. Yes. The imperial guards replied respectfully as they watched him ride the flame lion into the palace. Is it really all right if we don't send people to follow them? Someone asked. How dare you disobey the 10th prince? If you have the guts, go ahead. The other person said as he sat down and waited. However, not long after he sat down, he really smelled the aroma of meat. He couldn't help but ask, Who is barbecuing meat here? Those 10 prisoners on death row all thought that they had too little time to escape, so they definitely wouldn't do this. Could it be that there are other people in this forest? Thinking of this possibility, the middle-aged man couldn't help but frown as he looked worriedly in the direction the youth had left. When the youth followed the scent, he saw a handsome red-clothed youth sitting cross-legged under a large tree. He was tearing up something and eating it. In front of the youth was a pile of smashed soil, and on the soil was a fragrant chicken. The chicken had its legs torn off. Just the smell alone made him want to pounce on it. Chapter 936. Fengjiu glanced at him and asked casually, Who are you? Hearing this, the young man raised his chin and said arrogantly, You don't even know me? Let me tell you, I am the 10th prince of the kingdom of Qing, Duanyi. Oh, it's Duanyi, she replied nonchalantly and shifted her gaze away to continue eating the chicken. Seeing this, the young man was annoyed. You haven't told me your name. It's not like I have to tell you. The young man was startled and looked at the young man in astonishment. He wanted to get angry, but when he smelled the fragrance, he swallowed his saliva and asked, What are you eating? As he spoke, he had already jumped off the flaming lion and walked towards Fengjiu. Beggar's chicken. Have you eaten it? Seeing him coming, Fengjiu tore off another drumstick and handed it over. Here, try it. The young man looked curiously at the drumstick in his hand and coughed. He raised his chin and said, Okay. Since you're treating me, I'll try it. He took a bite and didn't care about his image. When the tender chicken entered his mouth, his eyes lit up. Delicious. Of course, how can my cooking not be delicious? Fengjiu took out a bottle of wine. Want some? Drink. So, he sat down beside him and ate the chicken, drank the wine, and chatted. There's a barrier here. How did you get in? I was here before you set up the barrier. Then you're lucky to have met me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to get out. Ha ha. Fengjiu chuckled and didn't say anything. Where are you from? Aren't you from the imperial city of the kingdom of Qing? No, I'm from a 7th-tier country. Ah? 7th-tier country? That's a country with very little influence and strength. However, it's also very far from here. How can someone from a 7th-grade country like you come here? I'm looking for someone. Hearing him say he was looking for someone, the young man asked, Looking for someone? Have you found someone? Do you need little Wang to help you? Fengjiu glanced at him and smiled meaningfully. I found him, but I haven't thought of how to subdue him. That's simple. He raised his fist and said, Do you see that? My fist is all that matters. If you want to subdue me, all you have to do is clench your fist and do it. Oh? Using his fists? That won't do, right? She rubbed her chin as she considered his suggestion. Why not? They're all people who bully the weak and fear the strong. If they're not convinced, just beat them until they're convinced. How simple is that? After finishing the drumstick, he tore off a chicken wing and continued to gnaw on it. Hearing this, Fengjiu stared at him with a faint smile. He restrained the light in his eyes and asked, Right, I haven't asked you yet. What are you doing in this forest? I'm playing Final Destination, the young man said as he turned to Fengjiu. Do you want to join me? I'm a ghost. There are 10 prisoners on death row in this forest. If I let them go, as long as they avoid me, they'll have a chance to live. If not, he. Seeing the ruthlessness in the young man's eyes, Fengjiu raised his eyebrows. This baby-faced young man was as the information said. He was not a harmless and innocent young man. However, born in the imperial family, if he was too innocent, he would have died many times over. What's so exciting about playing Final Destination? If you want to play, then play for real. Do you dare? She asked provocatively. Chapter 937. Why not? I heard that there's a mass grave in the Qin Kingdom. It's full of ghosts, but there's a formation set up there. Normal people can't go in, and usually, no one goes in. As she spoke, the young man lowered his head and pretended not to hear, stuffing chicken meat into his mouth. Seeing this, Fengjiu raised her eyebrows and continued, There are all kinds of ghosts in that place, but most of them are malicious ghosts. Their white robes flutters in the wind, their fangs are greenish-white, and their ghostly flames are floating around. If you go there at night, it's even more, Don't say it, don't say it. You're giving me goosebumps. The young man couldn't help but jump up and stare at Fengjiu. She looked at the young man in surprise and said, I thought you weren't afraid, so I told you. Besides, these aren't very powerful. What's more terrifying are the malicious ghosts that become ghost cultivators. You've seen them before? The young man's baby face was filled with fear and curiosity. I've seen them before. You want to know? I'll tell you. Seeing the fear on the young man's face and the curiosity in his eyes, she smiled and said, It's daytime now. It's okay to talk about ghosts during the day, but don't talk about them at night. That's true. All right then. Tell me, I'll listen. He sat down again and leaned closer to her. Seeing this, Fengjiu smiled and said, Actually, there are good ghosts too. It's just that there are fewer of them. I once passed by a place and decided to stay for the night when I saw that it was dark. I felt something was wrong when I saw that there was only one family there. But I thought it was nothing, so I went to ask. I saw a child of a few years old in front of the door. That child is a ghost? No, the child isn't a ghost. But his grandparents, father and mother are all ghosts. Because they were killed and their resentment hasn't dissipated, so the flaming lion standing at the side was already at the peak of the holy beast level. It had developed spiritual intelligence long ago. At this moment, it just watched its master sitting there in high spirits and listening to the young man in red who came out of nowhere tell a ghost story. After about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the flaming lion, who had not been paying much attention, suddenly turned and stared at a certain spot with a sharp gaze. In the forest not far away, the round Tunyun was trotting back with small step. It glanced at the big flaming lion and came to its master's side. Is this your pet? The young man looked at the round little beast and his eyes couldn't help but reveal a look of disdain. Such a small little beast, it can't even help you fight. What's the point of raising it? This kind of animal is only suitable for women to keep for fun. Tunyun glanced at him, not even giving him an extra glance. What a blind person. Fengjiu chuckled and stroked Tunyun's soft fur. It's called Tunyun, my little beast. What do you think? She was round and cute, right? Doesn't it look like a cloud in the sky? TSK. I don't see how cute she is. We men don't like this kind of little thing. As he spoke, he raised his chin and gestured. Look at my pet beast. It's a peak holy beast. Its 4 hooves tread on fire and it looks majestic even without roaring. Peak holy beast. Its rank isn't low, she nodded and said with a smile. Chapter 938. With your peak foundation building strength, you still can't catch this peak holy beast flame lion. Presumably, there were at least 2 nascent soul cultivators accompanying you, right? Upon hearing this, Duan was stunned, and his gaze became vigilant. You can see through my cultivation? I can see through it. Why can't I see through it? How's that possible? He was somewhat in disbelief. She grinned and patted him with her hand. How's that impossible? My strength is higher than yours to begin with. Higher than me? Don't tell me you're still a core formation cultivator? He sneered, sizing up Fengjiu. Peak Great Spirit Master? Ha 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 ha. She laughed loudly. That's because I suppressed it. Otherwise, it would have been too conspicuous. Don't tell me you're a core formation cultivator. As soon as his voice fell, he saw that Fengjiu really was laughing like a fox. He couldn't help but be stunned, crying out involuntarily, You're really a core formation cultivator? How's that possible? Loki. She smiled and narrowed her eyes. Just think of me as a peak Great Spirit Master. I just advanced to core formation a few days ago. Upon seeing Fengjiu's smug expression, the corner of Duan Ye's mouth twitched, and he asked, Are you really from a 7th-ranked country? The strength and cultivation of people from 7th-ranked countries are already so abnormal? In this 2nd-ranked country, his strength was already one of the best, but this boy was even more abnormal. He seemed to be 1 or 2 years older than him, but he'd actually formed his gold core? He elbowed the boy beside him. We've been talking for so long, but you still haven't told me your name? Fengjiu, she said with a smile. Fengjiu? You're ranked 9th? Upon hearing that, the corner of her mouth twitched. Who said that you have to be ranked 9th if you're called Fengjiu? My name is Fengjiu. It doesn't sound good, he said with a twitch of his mouth. She glanced at him speechlessly. Without saying anything else, she patted her dust-stained robes and stood up. You're leaving? Duan Yi hurriedly asked. Fengjiu glanced at him and asked, Do you know the Hell Mountain Range? Hell Mountain Range? I've heard of it, but I've never been there. It is said that our Hell Mountain Range is connected to the Hell Forest of the 8 great empires. There are treasures everywhere, but there are also dangers everywhere. Moreover, some people from the 8 great empires go there to gain experience. As soon as he finished speaking, he stared at Fengjiu with a grave expression. Why are you bringing this up for no reason? Don't tell me you want to go there because you have nothing to do. You're right. I want to go there for a walk and gain some experience, so I want to find a few people to team up with. Do you dare to come with me? She raised her eyebrows and looked at him. Hearing this, he stared at Fengjiu and exclaimed, Do you want to die? Even if a gold core cultivator went in, I've never heard of anyone coming out alive. Very few people on our side dare to go in. Just because others don't dare, it doesn't mean that I don't dare. Let me ask you, do you dare to come with me? She stared at him. She did not intend to tell him that she was an instructor of a 2-star academy. She only intended to kidnap him and go to that place to gain some experience. She believed that after coming out of that place, even if her strength did not increase, her skills and adaptability would increase. When the time was up, she could directly take him back. Duan Yi thought for a moment. His cute baby face wrinkled up. After a long time, he asked, Just the 2 of us? Chapter 939. Sigh, but my father will definitely not allow me to go. He sighed. That's simple, just leave it to me. Her eyes flashed with wisdom as she said, however, in order to get rid of the people following us, we still have to sneak away. How about this? You and your flame lion follow me first and wait for me at the edge of the barrier. I'll inform your guards. He was stunned. You? Can you do it? Don't get caught. Hearing this, she looked at the little beast on the ground. Swallow Cloud, lead the way for them. I'll catch up with you later. Oh. Swallow Cloud opened its mouth and growled, then it raised its head and walked with its short legs to lead the way. All right. If you can't do it, you can find me, but there's a barrier here. Can you not be so long-winded? Let's go. She rolled her eyes speechlessly and waved her hand to chase them away. When Duan Yi saw this, he did not speak anymore and followed the little beast on his flame lion. He looked back at Fengjiu, who was standing in the same place, and thought, it doesn't matter, if he really can't do it, then I'll just circle back. As for Fengjiu, after Duan Yi left with Swallow Cloud, she went directly to the guard. Before she got close, she heard a shout. Who are you? Why are you here? Hearing the shout, Fengjiu looked at the person and saw that it was a middle-aged man with a nascent soul cultivation, so she said, I'm a teacher from the 2-Star Academy, surnamed Foam. The dean asked me to come and pick up Duan Yi. A teacher from the 2-Star Academy? The middle-aged man glanced at Fengjiu. She did not hide her cultivation and directly released the strength of a middle gold core stage. What proof do you have? Seeing the strength of the middle gold core stage, the nascent soul cultivator asked in a deep voice. This is my teacher identity jade token. She handed over the jade token and said. The nascent soul cultivator took it and scanned it with his divine sense. The youth's appearance and identity were printed on it, so he nodded and relaxed his expression. The 10th prince is unwilling to go to the academy. Do you have a way to take him away? He's already agreed to go with me. I'm here to tell you guys to remove the barrier. I'm taking him away. He agreed to go with you. The nascent soul cultivator was somewhat surprised. That's right. Fengjiu nodded. Seeing this, he pondered for a moment and asked, since you are an instructor of the 2-Star Academy, and have also come to pick up the 10th prince, then do you want to accompany the 10th prince to the Imperial Palace to see the Emperor? It's too troublesome. I still have things to do, so I won't be going to the palace. As she spoke, she saw him frown slightly and added, you can rest assured that my identity cannot be faked. If you don't believe me, you can send a letter to the academy to ask. I understand. The nascent soul cultivator looked at the sky and said, 2 hours. Once I capture the 10 prisoners, I will release the barrier. Hearing this, Fengjiu curled his lips and said, all right, then I'll take a walk around here with Duan Yi. As he spoke, he turned around and left. Watching him leave, the nascent soul cultivator immediately said to the guard behind him, immediately return to the palace and report. Yes. The guard responded and quickly left. You two follow him. Try not to let him find you. He instructed the 2 middle gold core stage cultivators. Okay. The 2 of them responded and followed behind Fengjiu. Chapter 940. After about an hour, there was still no sign of Fengjiu. Duan Yi couldn't help but look back as he muttered, that kid couldn't have been caught, right? Forget it, I'd better go back and take a look. Just as he patted his mount and was about to turn back, he saw a red figure dash out of the forest and arrive in front of him in a few breaths. Duan Yi, can you put this big beast into the spiritual beast space? As long as it was a contracted beast, it could be put into the spiritual beast space. He should be able to do the same, right? Of course. But why should I put it away? Isn't it fine for me to ride it? He looked at Fengjiu with a puzzled expression and asked, wait until we're out of the kingdom of Qing before riding it. Otherwise, it'll be too eye-catching. Hurry up and put it away. Let's go. She gestured, then turned around and walked to the edge of the barrier. She gathered spirit energy in her hands and gathered it on her fingertip. As she pointed, she let out a clear shout. Break! As soon as she shouted, the spiritual power on her fingertips pointed forward. Like a huge rock thrown into a calm lake, circles of spiritual power rippled out in that seemingly transparent place. Duan Yi was putting his contracted beast into the spiritual beast space when he saw the barrier open a small door in front of him. He was startled. How could it be like this? Let's go. Fengjiu pulled him and jumped out. Little Tun Yun followed closely behind them. After they jumped out, that place gradually returned to its original state. Hiss! How come I didn't know the barrier could be broken like this? If we come out like this, how could they not know? He was pleasantly surprised. He looked back and was pulled onto a feather by Fengjiu. Together with little Tun Yun, they quickly flew into the distance. 1 day later, in a town in the kingdom of Qing. In an inn, Fengjiu was resting on the bed. She faintly heard the sound of an argument downstairs, so she pulled the blanket over her head. However, not long after, the innkeeper hurried upstairs and knocked on her door. Young master, young master, young master, quickly open the door. Something has happened, something has happened. Hearing the anxiety in the shopkeeper's voice, Fengjiu helplessly got up. After a simple wash, he put on his coat and opened the door. His tone was somewhat displeased. What happened so early in the morning? Seeing the door open, the shopkeeper hurriedly said, Young master, the young master who came with you is fighting with someone outside. Fight? Fengjiu was startled for a moment, then said indifferently, If you want to fight, then let's fight. What's the big deal? With Duan Ye's strength, he might not necessarily lose. Therefore, when she was about to close the door, the shopkeeper stopped her. No. He beat up the city's little tyrant. That little tyrant has some background. I'm afraid that young master. She frowned. What's his background? It's fine as long as he's not dead. What's the big deal? Hearing this, the shopkeeper was stunned and speechless. As long as he didn't die? Was this referring to that young master? Or that little tyrant? Forget it. Have someone bring me some breakfast. It would be best if I could get a bowl of porridge. She walked out with little Tun Yun at her feet. Young master, aren't you going to see your friend? The shopkeeper asked in surprise. Didn't you hear what I said? She paused and glanced back at the shopkeeper. Chapter 941. Fengjiu walked down the stairs and glanced outside. When he saw that there were many people gathered outside the inn, he ignored them. Instead, he found a nearby table and sat down. He poured himself a cup of water and drank it. Because there were too many people gathered outside, she could not see the situation. She could only faintly hear the sounds of fists landing, the clapping and cheering of the crowd, and Duan Ye's curses. She heard that the curses were full of energy, so she was not worried that he would be at a disadvantage. After the waiter served the snacks, she picked up her chopsticks and began eating. Little Tun Yun obediently lay on a chair at the side, and did not run around. Sir, this is your porridge. There are also 2 side dishes to go with it. The innkeeper personally served Fengjiu the food while carefully observing his expression. However, he saw that he was not anxious at all. It was as if he did not know the youth who was fighting outside. When he saw this, he could only retreat and no longer speak. Ah, my eyes! A blood-curdling scream came from outside. The onlookers only saw the purple-clothed youth throw a punch at the little tyrant's eyes, causing him to scream endlessly. When he let go, one of his eyes quickly turned black and blue, and even that side of his face swelled up. Humph! You dare to provoke me? You're blind. Since you're blind, I'll teach you a good lesson. I'll let you know who you can't afford to provoke. Duan Yi coldly snorted, and once again rushed forward, lifting his leg to kick that man. Unexpectedly, his kicking leg was grabbed by someone and turned, his entire body turned along with it, and he only felt a wave of force attacking him, and was forcefully pushed out. The purple-robed figure somersaulted in the air, and landed on the ground. However, he could not stabilize himself, and took a few steps back, before he could stabilize himself. His expression was cold as he stared at the person who had come and said sternly, Who are you? You want to stand up for him? Sir, you should know when to stop. If you cross the line again, I won't be polite. The person who came was a middle-aged man with the strength of a gold core. He only glanced at Duan Yi before warning him. It was very obvious that he had seen through Duan Ye's strength at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. However, even with the strength at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, he would not be able to withstand a single blow from a golden core cultivator. Thus, he had issued a warning. After all, using the cultivation of a golden core cultivator to deal with a foundation establishment cultivator was too humiliating for his status. You're welcome? Ha ha ha, if you don't scram, then don't blame me for being impolite. Duanyi raised his head and roared with laughter. But his sharp eyes were like those of a little beast, bloodthirsty, icy cold, and surging with battle intent. Obviously, he was utterly unafraid that his opponent was a golden core realm cultivator. Is this guy crazy? That middle-aged man is Little Tyrant's uncle, an Azoth practitioner. He even dares to provoke him? Maybe this young man came from some aristocratic family? Otherwise, where would the courage and guts come from? But I don't see anyone protecting him. Moreover, even if he really is from a noble family, so what? If he were to be killed here, then he would be nothing. That's right. Last month, Little Tyrant killed someone, but no one dared to say anything to them. Even the city lord turned a blind eye to it. This purple-robed young man looks like he came from outside and doesn't know Little Tyrant's reputation. However, his strength is above Little Tyrant's. He was actually able to beat Little Tyrant to the point of crying for his father and mother. This is truly satisfying. Chapter 942. You're just a local tyrant. How dare you call yourself an overlord? Chi. Don't you know that only I have the right to call you little overlord? Duanye's hand moved, and an 8-star flywheel appeared in his hand. The flywheel seemed to be made of black iron, but the array patterns on it, as well as the sharp teeth of the wheel, made the golden core cultivator squint his eyes, and a trace of greed flashed across his eyes. Magic tool. That was an extraordinary magic tool. An extremely rare magic tool on the market. He couldn't tell that this kid actually had such a thing. However, to be able to take out such a magic tool so casually, he might have even more valuable treasures on him. Thinking of this, his mind quickly moved. Kid, I think you don't want to live anymore. How dare you cause trouble in my territory? The man who was beaten until his entire body was in pain was supported by 2 men. He was glaring angrily at Duanyi, who was holding the 8-star flywheel. He wanted to go forward and teach him a lesson, but he was stopped by the middle-aged man in front of him. Uncle, this kid is too arrogant. If we don't teach him a lesson, he won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. That's right. If we don't teach you a lesson, you won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Duanyi nodded in agreement. The 8-star flywheel in his hand spun, and with a whoosh, the flywheel attacked the middle-aged man with a fierce aura and traces of killing intent. A trace of calculation flashed across the middle-aged man's eyes, and his figure flashed. Since you're not willing to stop, then I'll offend you. The pressure of a golden core cultivator attack. After dodging Duanye's attack, he grabbed Duanye's shoulder with his bare hands. You dare to touch me? I'll cripple your pig's feet. Duanyi snorted coldly. The 8-star flywheel returned to his hand, and with a change of direction, it slashed towards the hand that was grabbing his shoulder. Whoosh! The middle-aged man was shocked by his extremely fast speed. He instinctively retracted his hand, but he could still feel the bloodthirsty aura on the back of his hand. It felt as if he had retracted his hand a little slower, his hand would have been chopped off. Damn it! This kid was only at the foundation establishment stage, but how could he be so fast? How could he know that as a disciple of the imperial family, he'd encountered countless dangers since he was young, and his movement technique and speed were the foundation for survival, so he naturally wouldn't be slow. Moreover, they were related to the aristocratic families of the 8 great empires, so they naturally had some secret techniques that outsiders didn't know about. That young man is so fast. That's right, to actually be able to exchange blows with a golden core cultivator. Where did this young man come from? He's definitely not from a small family. It won't be so easy to deal with the son of an aristocratic family. If they really dare to harm the young man's life here, the young man's family will probably know. I've heard that many aristocratic families send their children out to gain experience, and they will secretly protect them. As long as their lives are not in danger, they will generally not show themselves. Hearing the words of the surrounding people and seeing the speed of the youth's attack and his strange movement technique, the golden core cultivator's forehead broke out in cold sweat. In a moment of carelessness, his arm was scratched by the flywheel. Seeing that if they continued to fight in this place, even if they won, it wouldn't be good. Thus, he gritted his teeth and quickly retreated. He pulled the little tyrant with one hand and rushed back, leaving behind a sentence at the same time. "Brat, don't let me see you again." Chapter 943. He looked around and snorted, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What's there to look at? Hurry up and disperse." When the surrounding people saw this, they quickly dispersed. They didn't dare to offend someone who dared to go against a golden core cultivator. Seeing that the crowd had dispersed, Duanyi walked towards the inn. The shopkeeper at the door hurriedly greeted him with a smile. "It's good that young master is fine, it's good that you're fine. That young master has been waiting for you on the first floor for a long time. He's here, young master, please follow me." Duanyi walked in and saw Fengjiu sitting there full. He walked forward and said, "You're quite at ease. Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to win and will be killed? If you can't win, you'll have run away long ago." Fengjiu poured a cup of tea and drank it as he gestured. "I ordered those for you. After eating, we'll be on our way." "All right." He didn't say much. After sitting down, he picked up his chopsticks and started eating. The two of them paid the bill and left the inn, heading out of the city. After exiting the city gate, Duanyi asked, "Didn't you say there were 3 more people? Who are they? Where are we going to find them?" Hearing this, she glanced at him and said with a smile, "What's the rush? You'll know when we get there." "You already have people in mind? With our strength, it's a bit difficult to enter the Hell Mountain range." "So, the other 3 are nascent soul cultivators?" "If they were nascent soul cultivators, wouldn't it be fine if I asked my imperial father to call 2 of them? Why do we need to find them?" "What nascent soul cultivators?" Fengjiu couldn't help but chuckle. "Those 3 are the same as you, Foundation Establishment cultivators." "What? Are you kidding? Find 3 more Foundation Establishment cultivators to enter the Hell Mountain range? With my cultivation level, I'm confident that I can fight against a golden core cultivator, but against a peak golden core cultivator, I'm not confident at all. If it were other Foundation Establishment cultivators, they wouldn't even be able to deal with an early-stage golden core cultivator. If you find 3 more Foundation Establishment cultivators, we won't have to protect them, right?" "No, those 3 are the same as you. They aren't weak." Hearing him praise him as well, he couldn't help but glance at him. A trace of surprise flashed across his baby face as he coughed lightly and said, "I don't know about others, but I'm definitely not weak. Seeing that you're not bad, I'll give you a hand when you encounter danger in the Hell Mountain range." "Sure." She chuckled and said, "But before we leave, don't you think we should solve the problem first?" What trouble?" He looked at him in confusion. "That's the trouble that's been following us all the way. Aren't they waiting for us to leave the city? I think it's better for you to solve the trouble you've caused. It's a good opportunity for you to practice your skills." Hearing this, he instantly reacted. His cute baby face darkened, and his sharp eyes looked behind him. He shouted, "Who are you, scoundrel? Hurry up and come out to see me." "Ha ha 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 ha. You really don't know the difference between life and death." A burst of laughter rang out. Just as the voice faded away, a dozen strong men holding swords and sabers surged out from the surroundings. Aside from the golden core cultivator and the great spirit master man from before, there was also a middle-aged man with a large belly. Chapter 944. His eyes, which were so fat that only a slit could be seen, flickered with light as he sized up the two of them as if he was evaluating goods. Finally, his gaze swept past the baby-faced Duan Yi and stopped at the handsome Fengjiu's face. A trace of shock flashed through his eyes. "Old thing, don't use such a disgusting gaze to look at people. It will make me want to dig your eyes out." While the fat middle-aged man was sizing up the two of them, Duan Yi was also sizing them up. Especially this fat guy, who was wearing sparkling gold clothes. Seeing him use such a gaze to stare at them, he knew that this person was thinking of dirty things. He, where did this noble young master come from? His looks are truly outstanding and each has their own charm. The fat man chuckled as he continued to stare at the two of them with narrowed eyes. However, rather than saying that he was staring at Duan Yi, it would be better to say that he was staring at the handsome young man in red clothes that were as dazzling as fire. That youth only had the cultivation of a great spirit master, but from the moment he saw them appear until now, he wasn't alarmed or panicked. He calmly stood there with an indifferent expression on his incomparably handsome face and a faintly discernible smile on his lips. This young man's beauty was even more beautiful than a woman's, but it was not the kind of evil and gentle beauty. Instead, it was a kind of wanton and dazzling beauty like the blazing sun. That pair of serene eyes contained a mysterious color. With just a glance, it made people unable to look away. However, it was precisely because of this young man's peerless beauty, because of his calmness, and because of the faintly discernible smile on his lips that gave him a very strange feeling no matter how he looked at it. Danger. And it was a strange feeling of danger. He was only a great spirit master young man, so how could he give him such a feeling? It should be a misconception. Fengjiu, what is this old thing's cultivation? Duan Yi moved closer to his side and asked. Peak golden core. She narrowed her eyes and said with a smile. Hearing this, the corner of his mouth twitched. Previously, he said that he could not beat a peak golden core cultivator, but now he was met with a peak golden core cultivator. How could he be so unlucky? Fengjiu seemed to know what he was thinking. He patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, It's okay. If you can't beat him, you have me. You're saying that you've just entered the golden core realm not long ago, and yet you're able to deal with someone at the peak of the golden core realm with the cultivation of the early golden core realm? He lowered his voice, looked at him, and sighed. All right, if we can't find them, we'll run. What are you mumbling about? What? Scared? Ha ha ha, capture them. Bring them back and clean them up properly. The golden core stage cultivator, who had been injured by Duan Ye's 8-star flywheel, shouted. As soon as his voice fell, the surrounding dozen or so strong men rushed forward to surround them. Humph! You are courting death. Duan Yi coldly snorted. With a move of his hand, the 8-star flywheel turned into a beam of light and appeared in his hand. He instantly threw the flywheel. With a whoosh, the flywheel carried a sharp aura as it slashed towards the necks of the cultivators who had surrounded him. For a moment, at the same time the cold light streaked across, miserable screams were heard. Streams of blood splashed onto the ground. The strong men who had surrounded Duan Yi and Duan Yi had fallen dead before they could even touch the two of them. That's right, if an initial stage Great Spirit Master cultivator were to deal with a peak foundation establishment cultivator, they would definitely be killed as soon as they made a move. Chapter 945. To have such skills and cultivation at such a young age, little doll, which clan are you from? The fat middle-aged man asked, squinting his eyes as he stared at Duan Yi. Pfft! Hearing the word little doll, Fengjiu could not help but laugh. Looking at Duan Ye's red face, that childish baby face was indeed worthy of the word little doll. Duan Yi glared at Fengjiu angrily, then glared at the fat middle-aged man. I'm your grandfather. With that, he attacked with the 8 stars flywheel in his hand. Feng Jiu stood to the side without moving. Duan Ye's skills were not weak, and she wanted to know where his limits were. Moreover, the peak golden elixir realm cultivator would not attack so easily, so she was not worried that his life would be in danger. As expected, when the early golden elixir realm cultivator saw Duan Yi attack, he immediately attacked him, blocking his attack and exchanging blows with him. In terms of strength, Duan Yi was not his opponent's match, but in terms of speed and movement techniques, he had the upper hand. Feng Jiu watched quietly, and Tun Yun also followed beside her, watching the two exchange blows. Sharp air currents whistled through the air, and visible spiritual auras swept through the air, attacking the opponent. Hiss! The golden elixir realm cultivator did not have a weapon in his hand, and was cut by the 8 stars flywheel in Duan Ye's hand. Blood instantly seeped out of his shoulder, and he also gasped, retreating slightly. The young man watching from the side did not dare to move forward, because he knew that he was not his opponent. If he suddenly moved forward, he would only end up like the dozen strong men who were killed, dying. However, he could not defeat the doll face, but this red-clothed youth was only a great spiritual master, so he could take care of him. Thus, when he saw that the youth had been staring at the battle between the two, he moved his sleeve slightly and a dagger slipped out from his sleeve. He held it in a reverse grip and his figure suddenly leaped out, raising the dagger to stab at the red-clothed youth. "Brat, watch me kill you!" However, Feng Jiu didn't even look at him. She didn't dodge or attack. That was because Tun Yun, who was standing by her feet, had already charged forward when he saw the man lunging at her with a dagger in his hand. The small figure was like a ball. The seemingly harmless pet that had no combat power flashed its sharp claws at this moment. At the same time, its sharp claws slashed at the man's wrist that was holding the dagger. Swish! What was shocking was that when such a small pet pounced and flashed its claws, it actually carried a fierce and bloodthirsty aura. Its speed was so fast that even the great spirit master level man couldn't dodge in time. Hiss! My hand! The dagger fell to the ground with a clang, and fresh blood seeped out from his trembling wrist. His face turned pale, and he instinctively reached out to grab his bleeding hand. Looking at the deep claw marks on his bloody wrist, he could faintly see half of his white bones. He was so shocked that his heart beat wildly, and he screamed involuntarily. "Ah! My hand, my hand!" Because of the sudden change on the man's side, the golden elixir realm cultivator who was fighting with Duan Yi momentarily lost his mind, and his abdomen was also slashed by the sharp 8 stars flywheel. He staggered backwards and his face turned pale. He tightly clenched his teeth, unwilling to accept this. Chapter 946. The fat middle-aged man's hand that was patting his stomach paused for a moment. His eyes that were as thin as slits stared at the little round pet, and a trace of surprise flashed through his eyes. "What kind of beast is this?" he asked, as if he didn't see the two people injured. He only stared at the little beast with interest, as if he was very surprised by its fierce attack to protect its master. Feng Jiu didn't even look at him. Her gaze was only focused on Duan Yi. When she saw that he was fighting with the golden core cultivator, and that there were only small wounds on his body caused by the air currents, a trace of satisfaction appeared in her eyes. Not bad, his skills were indeed not bad. It was more than enough to deal with an early golden core cultivator. Even if it was a mid-golden core cultivator, he could still steadily gain the upper hand and not be defeated. With this kind of skill and reaction, he could definitely kill someone above his level. Perhaps seeing that Feng Jiu didn't pay attention to him, the fat middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and turned to look at Duan Yi. In the next moment, the fat figure actually rushed out at an extremely fast speed, attacking Duan Yi. Seeing this, Feng Jiu's eyes moved slightly. She didn't make a move and only watched. She saw that Duan Yi was gradually at a disadvantage in the fight with that person. Although the other party was fat, His movements weren't clumsy. Compared to the Golden Core cultivator, this peak Golden Core cultivator's strength was clearly much higher. In less than 10 moves, Duan Yi was completely at a disadvantage. When she saw the other party's palm carrying a strong chi attack towards Duan Yi's chest, her eyes flashed with a cold light, and her red figure instantly rushed out. Duan Yi only felt a sudden force grab him from behind. His entire body was pulled back, and he was forcefully sent several meters away to avoid that almost fatal attack. His heart jumped slightly, and he gasped. His eyes widened as he saw Fengjiu's red figure flash before his eyes and meet the fat middle-aged cultivator's attack. "Be careful!" He couldn't help but cry out in alarm. After all, he thought that Fengjiu was just a cultivator who had just entered the Golden Core realm. Perhaps his battle prowess was even lower than his own, but he had faced such a blow head-on. If he had been hit by that person's palm, even if he didn't die, he would have been seriously injured. The two palms struck out and the two streams of air collided. The powerful aura and pressure seemed to want to compete and see who was stronger. They suppressed each other until a loud bang was heard. The air currents rumbled and the more powerful side swept out with an overwhelming momentum. It was like a stormy wave in the sea suddenly colliding, and the fat middle-aged cultivator was sent flying several meters away. Pooh! He spat out a mouthful of blood and his figure swayed slightly. His entire body was knocked back by the powerful airflow, and he lost his balance and staggered back. But at this moment, before he could even react, he saw the red figure rush towards him like a ghost. He could even see the shock and horror in the deep and cold eyes of the red figure. Xiao! A sharp gust of wind swept past, followed by a flash of cold light. Blood splattered out, and the fat figure stiffly fell backwards. Bang! He didn't even have the chance to scream and beg for mercy. Fengjiu took his life in 3 moves. Such a frighteningly powerful battle prowess made Duan Yi, who was standing behind him on tenterhooks, widen his eyes in shock and disbelief. Chapter 947. Ah! A sharp scream broke the silence. The man with the injured wrist screamed and tried to escape. Almost at the same time, the Golden Core cultivator with the injured abdomen and shoulder turned to flee. However, Fengjiu smiled when he saw the two figures. Trying to escape? It's too late. As soon as he finished speaking, the red figure attacked and took care of the two people without any difficulty. Duan Yi gulped when he saw the two motionless corpses on the ground. He stared at Fengjiu in admiration. So powerful, yes, so powerful. So much more powerful than him. He always thought that there were few people in his generation who could be his match. After all, he could kill people above his level. Ordinary people could not do that. However, after seeing Fengjiu's strength and skills today, he could not help but sigh in admiration. He was really powerful. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and take everything valuable from them and run. Fengjiu, who had already squatted down to search the corpses, turned around and shouted at Duan Yi. Oh, okay. Duan Yi responded in a daze. Almost instinctively, he squatted down and took everything valuable from the corpses. In the end, he brought everything to Fengjiu. Here, it's all here. Here. He handed everything to Duan Yi. Although these things were worth some money, he did not care for them. Moreover, he was born in the imperial family and had never lacked money. Fengjiu glanced at him but did not say anything. He took the items and put them into his space. Go. Someone will definitely come later. Let's go. With that, he threw the flying feather and jumped up with Tun Yun. When Duan Yi saw this, he hurriedly jumped up and sat on the flying feather. The flying feather carried them into the sky. After a while, he asked, Fengjiu, how are you so powerful? That was a cultivator at the peak of the Golden Core stage. You could kill him in 3 moves? Is your cultivation really only at the Golden Core stage? Yes. If he wasn't in the Jindan stage, could he be in the nascent soul stage? As for skills, it's all about practice. Your skills aren't bad either. If you practice well, you'll be a sharp blade in the future. He looked at the red-clothed youth beside him, then his gaze fell on the little beast called Tun Yun. It seems to be quite powerful as well. He then added, however, it's still not as powerful as my flaming lion. Little Tun Yun glanced at him and howled. It laid down beside Fengjiu and rested. It clearly didn't want to pay attention to him. Upon hearing his words, Fengjiu chuckled and didn't say anything. The gentle breeze lifted her hair. She closed her eyes comfortably and looked at the mountains and rivers, the blue sky and white clouds. 2 days later, Fengjiu and Duan Yi arrived at another second-tier country and found a famous bustling town in this country. Ning City. Duan Yi looked at the 2 words above the city gate, then looked at Fengjiu beside him and asked doubtfully, "The second person you are looking for is in Ning City? What's so special about this person? Why do you have to come all the way here to find him? Is he your friend? Or your relative?" Fengjiu curled his lips and smiled. "Him? You know him too." Chapter 948. Yes, it's that money grubber. The smile on her lips deepened. Ning Lang, the only son of Ning City's city lord, was extremely stingy. Other than being a miser, his methods of earning money were also extraordinary. It was said that when he was 1 year old, he carried a gold abacus and 2 gold ingots. When he was 5, he already knew how to earn money. When he was 8, he was already helping his father behind the scenes. It could be said that Ning City's prosperity could not be separated from this money grubber Ning Lang. You want to ask that money grubber to go to the Hell Mountain Range? You don't have to think about it. He only cares about how to earn money all day long. He won't be interested in going to the Hell Mountain Range. Duan Yi waved his hand and said. He did not expect Fengjiu to come here to find that money grubber. How can that be? There are many valuable things in the Hell Mountain Range. As long as he's greedy, he won't reject our invitation. Her eyes moved slightly, flashing with a hint of a smile. Seeing that he did not believe, Duan Yi did not say anything. You'll know when you see him. He's a person, how do I put it? He won't let go of any opportunity to earn money, but at the same time, he cherishes his life very much. As he said, he has to enjoy the money he earns, so he doesn't want to do dangerous things, lest he accidentally loses his life. It's too miserable to die but have money to spend. Hearing this, Fengjiu chuckled. He's an interesting person. Let's go. She walked forward, Tun Yun following beside her feet. Seeing this, Duan Ye's baby face showed some helplessness as he followed her inside. Since you want to find him, let's go directly to the city lord's mansion to pay him a visit. He might be at home. As Duan Yi spoke, he found someone to ask for directions, then went to the city lord's mansion with Fengjiu. Who is it? The guards of the city lord's mansion stopped the 2 of them and asked. I want to see your young city lord. Go in and inform him that Duan Yi is looking for him. Duan Yi, who had a baby face, stood with his hands behind his back. He was dressed in a purple robe and had a natural noble aura. Seeing this, the guards looked at each other and said, Wait a moment. Then, one of them quickly went in to pass the message. In the study of the city lord's mansion, a young man was counting on an abacus. At this moment, the voice of an attendant came from outside the door. Young master, there are 2 people outside. One of them is called Duan Yi and is looking for young master. Duan Yi. The young man who had his head buried in calculating paused and raised his head in surprise. Why is he here? Young master, do you want to see them or let them go? The servant outside asked. Invite them to the front hall. I'll be there in a moment. Yes. The attendant replied and went out to report. Outside, Fengjiu and Duan Yi were invited into the city lord's mansion, and brought to the front hall. The one leading the way was an old man. According to his self-introduction, he was the Ning family's housekeeper. Please have a cup of tea and some snacks. My young master will be here soon," the old man said with a smile. After asking someone to serve tea and snacks, he left and waited outside the hall. Fengjiu sized up the Ning mansion and couldn't help but click his tongue. From the inside to the outside, it's dazzling. No matter how you look at it, you can see the word rich. What a rich person. Chapter 949. The Ning family's wealth is comparable to that of a country. They're so rich that they're overflowing with oil. She was a little speechless. This was the first time she had seen someone decorate their home like this. The ground and walls reflected golden light and a kind of colorful light when the sun shone on them. If she guessed correctly, those should be gold and crystal stones. Otherwise, it would be impossible to emit such a light. Using gold and crystal stones to pave the ground and paint the walls as decoration, probably only the Ning family was willing to do so. The Ning family has a lot of money to begin with. It can almost be said that they control the economic lifeline of this second-class country. Otherwise, Ning City wouldn't be the most prosperous town in this country. As Duan Yi spoke, he picked up the teacup and took a sip. The tea that entered his mouth emitted waves of spiritual power, which made him smile. Even I can't get half a kilogram of spiritual tea that's worth tens of thousands of gold coins. He can casually take it out to greet guests. He's really generous. Babyface, what brings you here today? You actually came to Ning City to look for me? What's the matter? A voice sounded. Fengjiu and Duan Yi both looked up. They saw a 16 or 17-year-old boy walking towards them. He was wearing a dazzling golden silk robe. His hair was tied up with a golden crown, and a golden belt was wrapped around his waist. His entire body was shining with golden light. What made Fengjiu stunned was that this boy was half a head shorter than her and Duan Yi. Moreover, he was white and chubby like a fat baby in a New Year's picture. There was a round golden collar around his neck. 9 of his 10 fingers were wearing rings, which were either gold or jade. Moreover, there were 2 bracelets on his wrists made of unknown materials. There was also a small and exquisite golden abacus on his waist. The corner of her mouth twitched. She was speechless. He couldn't wait to hang all the gold and other things on his body, right? He didn't feel that those things were heavy, but she felt that they were heavy for him. Moreover, Ning Lang's image really broke her expectations and fantasies. She thought that he would be an elegant young man, but who knew that he was a white and chubby little boy? Moreover, he was a fat little boy who liked money very much. Little fatty, I haven't seen you for a long time. I find that you've gained weight again. Your eyes are narrowed into a line. TSK, your taste hasn't changed at all. I'm dazzled by the things on your body. Duan Yi looked at him and shook his head, speaking in a familiar tone. I told you not to call me little fatty. I have a name, Ning Lang. Little fatty said. Who told you to call me babyface? Then, he said to Fengjiu, have you seen this little fatty before? Fengjiu shook his head. Looking at the white and chubby little boy in front of him, he couldn't help but smile. It's the first time I've seen him. He was vulgar, but he didn't have that kind of vulgar feeling. Perhaps it was because this little fatty was white and chubby and had a cute little chubby appearance. Even if his robe was luxurious with golden threads, his hair was tied up with a golden crown and a golden belt wrapped around his body, he still didn't give people a vulgar feeling. On the contrary, he had a kind of oppressive wealth on him. Chapter 950. Duan Yi opened his mouth, but was interrupted by Fengjiu. Do you know the Hell Mountain Range? She looked at him and smiled. We want to invite you to go with us. Are you interested? Hell Mountain Range. Ning Lang looked at them and shook his head. He said directly, not interested. That place has a lot of natural treasures, spirit stones and crystal cores. She looked at him and smiled. I only know that place is very dangerous. If I go in, I probably won't be able to come out. He waved his meaty hands and said, Also, I'm very busy. I've been busy settling accounts recently. I don't have time to go out. It's said that a stock of aged spiritual medicine can be sold for a sky-high price. You really don't want to go? Other than those beast crystals, the Hell Mountain Range also produces all kinds of beautiful gemstones. Hearing this, Ning Leng's eyes moved. He glanced at Feng Jiu and hesitated. He shook his head. Even so, I'm not going. It's too dangerous. There's a spiritual stream in the Hell Mountain Range that produces gold pearls and black pearls in the lower stream. These two treasures can only be found in the spiritual stream of the Hell Mountain Range. There are no other places, not even the 8 great empires. Hearing about gold pearls and black pearls, Ning Leng couldn't help but gulp. A light appeared in his eyes. This time, he didn't reject directly. Instead, he lowered his head and played with his fingers. No one knew what he was thinking. Other than that, stop, stop, stop. Stop, stop. I can't take it anymore. You know that I like things related to money the most. Why do you keep talking about it? Ning Lang interrupted Feng Jiu. He rubbed his face with both hands and asked, Just tell me directly. Why do you want me to go? I'm not strong and I can't do anything even if I go. At most, I'll go wherever there are treasures. What's more, I won't give you what I find. Why do you want me to go? This won't benefit you, right? As he spoke, he shook his head. No, it's not good for either side. Because our strength isn't strong, we might be dragged away by beasts before we can enter. Or we might encounter robbers inside and have our treasures stolen. Or we might even die without even touching the treasures. The more I think about it, the more it's not worth it. Feng Jiu curled his lips into a smile. How can there be money without risk? If you want to get something, you have to pay a price. Let me ask you, are you going or not? I have to think about it and discuss it with my father. How can I go just like that? As he spoke, he scratched his head and said, How about this? You can stay at my house tonight, and I'll give you an answer tomorrow. All right. She nodded her head. In her heart she had already made up her mind. If he agreed to go, then that would be the best, but if he did not agree, she would directly tie him up and take him away. In any case, she would just throw him in there to gain experience for a year. Regardless of whether his cultivation would advance or not, after a year, she would just return him to the 2-star academy. Duan Yi, who was at the side, didn't say anything. He just sat there eating snacks and drinking tea while listening to the two of them talk. Chapter 951. Thus, he personally brought them to the backyard to settle them down and let them rest for a while. He then turned and left. When he returned to the front, he rubbed his head and thought about the young man in red. Feng Jiu? Why do I feel like I've seen him somewhere before? He muttered as he turned and walked back. After instructing people to prepare for the banquet, he returned to the main courtyard. Father! He peeked his head out of the courtyard and walked in, asking, Is my father in the courtyard? The mayor and madam have gone out and haven't returned yet. The guard in the courtyard replied. Oh, I see. He thought for a moment, then said, When they're back, get someone to inform me. After giving his instructions, he returned to his room. When he returned to his room, he took out the golden abacus and continued to calculate the unfinished account. His chubby fingers were unbelievably nimble when it came to calculating the abacus. However, after about an hour, he suddenly paused. Ah, I remember now. Young master? What's wrong? Young master, what's wrong? When the servant outside heard the shriek from inside, he couldn't help but ask worriedly. However, he didn't dare to open the door without his instructions. It's nothing. As Ning Lang spoke, he ignored the servant outside and flipped through the study table behind him. Not long after, he found a portrait. When his gaze landed on the portrait, his small eyes slowly widened. So it's him. I was thinking that he looked familiar. So I've seen him before. It's him. The person in the portrait was dressed in red and had a handsome face. The wanton expression between his brows and the expression in his eyes were extremely realistic. It was undoubtedly Fengjiu. The ghost doctor. It's actually the ghost doctor. A bottle of his medicine can be sold for a sky-high price. And that beauty pill is even more priceless. It's said that the one and only pill was bought by a member of the royal family of a first-tier country during the first auction. But why did this guy come to my house? And he wants to bring me to the Hell Mountain Range? There are so many people out there, but why me? He held the portrait and muttered to himself. His small eyes darted around. He had the mind of a businessman. Thus, in the face of benefits, what he thought the most was why. Why would someone like the ghost doctor come to his house? Why didn't he look for anyone else? Why did he have to go to the Hell Mountain Range? He sat quietly in the room for an hour until the attendant outside reported that his parents had returned. Thus, he put the portrait into his bosom before opening the door and walking out. Because he was a businessman, he had the latest news from all sides, especially the most profitable news. It was a pity that he couldn't get the ghost doctor's medicine, because it had always been auctioned off in the black market. Even if others wanted to, they didn't have the chance. Ever since the portrait of the ghost doctor had spread among the various major powers and the royal family, many people had been secretly paying attention to it. Who would have thought that it would actually run to his home in Ning City? Thinking of this, his heart was faintly excited. If his parents knew about this, they would definitely be very shocked. And let's tell them this news first before making a decision. As for the front hall, the city lord was slightly surprised when he heard the butler say that there was a guest in the house. Oh? Was he here to look for Lang Er? This child only knew how to earn money all day long. He didn't even go back to the academy, but he actually had friends who came to look for him? Interesting. Chapter 952. The beautiful woman sitting next to the city lord smiled and said, "Pass down the order, we have to entertain the young master's 2 friends tonight. Tell the kitchen to hurry up and prepare." "Madam, the young master has already given the order, the kitchen is already preparing," the housekeeper said with a smile. "That's good." The beautiful woman nodded and looked at the city lord beside her. "Go and call Langer over." The city lord motioned. "Yes." The housekeeper replied. Just as he was about to turn and leave, he saw his young master coming over from not far away. He hurriedly turned back and said, "Master, madam, the young master is here. Father, mother." Seeing their chubby son running over, the city lord and madam looked at each other and smiled. Looking at the chubby figure running over, their faces were full of doting love. Slow down, slow down. You're already so big and you still need to run. If the servants see you, they'll laugh at you," the city lord's wife said with a smile, shaking her head helplessly. "Mother." He came to his mother's side and reached out to hold her hand. "Father, mother, let me tell you, just now." I know. When we came in, the housekeeper told us that you have 2 friends coming to see you, right? Father and mother both know." The city lord's wife smiled and interrupted him. She patted his chubby hand and said, "Son, it's not easy to have friends come to find you. Don't just focus on earning money. Play with your 2 friends and take them around the city. You have to be a good host and build a good relationship with your friends." The city lord nodded. That's right. Listen to father and mother and go out more often. Don't stay in the city all day. If you really don't want to go out more, go back to the academy. You should have many friends there, right? You haven't gone back for so long, they must miss you very much." Seeing that his parents wanted to encourage him to return to the academy whenever they had the chance, he couldn't help but dig his ears and say, Father, Mother, don't keep bringing this up. My ears are getting calluses from hearing it so much. He had originally planned to tell them about Fengzhou's identity, but seeing the two of them like this, he swallowed back the words that were on the tip of his tongue. Rolling his eyes, he smiled with a pair of sparkling eyes and said, Father, Mother, I remember that there are still some things that I haven't dealt with yet. I have to go back first. That's right, don't be unable to find me tonight. When the sun sets, I have to entertain guests. I know. Aren't they your two friends? Father and Mother also want to meet them. City Lord Ning said with a smile. Looking at his sneaky son's eyes, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although it's not very good to say that my son is sneaky, but looking at him like this, no one knows him better than his father. I guess he's planning something again. You'll see them tonight. They're resting now. I'll leave first. I have to deal with some matters. As Ning Lang said this, he waved his hand and didn't give them a chance to speak. He turned around and trotted out. Returning to his courtyard, he went straight to his study. After busying himself for about the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, he called out 4 shadow guards and handed them something. Here are 8 invitations. Take them to the several families and forces in the city. Tell them that one invitation is worth 100,000 gold coins. Yes. The 4 shadow guards respectfully responded and quickly left. Chapter 953. Therefore, in the large Ning city, on this day, a few of the more prominent forces in the city received the invitation sent by Ning City's young city lord, Ning Lang. To be precise, it wasn't a gift, but a sale. A single invitation, an invitation to enter the city lord's manor to attend a banquet, was worth 100,000 gold. When they heard this unbelievably high price, even the leaders of those forces were shocked, thinking that he had gone mad from thinking about money. Why would they spend 100,000 gold to attend his family's banquet for no reason? However, when everyone heard the secret guard's words and took a look at the invitation, their expressions changed slightly, their eyes filled with disbelief. The ghost doctor? It's actually the ghost doctor? The ghost doctor is in the city lord's manor now? Everyone was stunned, but more were pleasantly surprised. Especially before they could make a decision, their wives had rushed over after hearing the news, asking their husbands to pay 100,000 gold to attend the banquet tonight, because they wanted to buy the beauty-nourishing pill from the ghost doctor. Heaven knows that the beauty-nourishing pill caused a sensation when it came out. To women who didn't want to be beautiful enough to retain their man's gaze and love. Especially in those families with many wives and concubines, the charm of a single beauty-nourishing pill was irresistible, because it didn't just make them younger and prettier, it was a pill that could change their life. This ghost doctor is really in the city lord's manor? A family head asked in disbelief. People from all the countries were looking for the ghost doctor's whereabouts, but he had come to their place? Was this real? Why would he stay in the city lord's manor? Could it be that the ghost doctor and the city lord were old acquaintances? I'm only following orders, I don't know anything else. However, my master said that he would never swindle people when doing business. This 100,000 gold is only the prerequisite for everyone to attend the banquet tonight. He's providing everyone with a chance to get close to each other. As for whether the ghost doctor will accept everyone's request, that has nothing to do with my master. Hearing this, the family head hesitated, but still ordered someone to take the secret guard away, and gave him 100,000 gold in exchange for the invitation. After the secret guard left, the family head called for someone to go out and inquire about the news. Until they heard that a few other powerful families had also bought the invitation to the banquet, their expressions changed slightly, and there was a trace of excitement in their hearts. For everyone to spend 100,000 gold coins to buy it, this ghost doctor should be real. When they thought of the ghost doctor's miraculous medical skills, as well as those medicines and pills, their hearts started to beat wildly. The ghost doctor's medicines and pills were all priceless. If they could get 1 or 2 bottles. Thinking of this, the patriarch swallowed his saliva and hurriedly ordered people to make preparations. They would head to the city lord's mansion in the evening. As for Fengjiu, who was cultivating in the city lord's mansion, she would never have thought that the little fat boy would be so greedy. He dared to sell her information on their first meeting and even attracted people from various forces in the city. If she knew about the trouble he had caused, she would definitely give him a good beating so that he would remember. As time passed, the sun set in the west. Before the sky was completely dark, the few sovereigns holding the invitation cards came to the city lord's mansion one after another. After showing the cards, a few servants waiting inside personally welcomed them in. Chapter 954. There was still some time before the banquet, so she decided to take a stroll around the city lord's manor. Flicking her red robes, she strode out. Everywhere she went, she saw luxurious houses and groups of servants. Everywhere she went, she could feel the hidden aura of a large family. Every distance she walked out of the courtyard, she could feel the aura hidden in the shadows. After walking around, she happened to come to the side of a rock garden. She sat down on a rock beside the pond and saw that the servants in the manor seemed to be busy, walking back and forth. "Master, the Ning family's young master said that the ghost doctor is here. It should be true, right? When I came in, I asked the servants in the manor, but none of them knew." A woman's voice came from behind the rock garden. Her words made Fengjiu raise his eyebrows. How can it be false? An invitation to the banquet costs 100,000 gold. If it's not true, would he dare to accept this money? The man's voice was low and steady. "I don't really want to ask for pills and medicine. I just want to ask the ghost doctor to treat our Hong Er's illness. This is a rare opportunity, so I have to give it a try no matter what." "That's right. This ghost doctor comes and goes like a ghost. It's rare for us to know that he's come to Ning City. No matter what, we have to invite him to our house." The two chatted as they walked, their voices gradually fading away. Standing by the pond, Fengjiu blinked his eyes in shock. An invitation cost 100,000 gold? Were they going to rob money? Ning Lang, this little fatty, she shook her head and sighed softly. Sure enough, these brats were not easy to manipulate. Each of them had more tricks up their sleeves than she did. While she was thinking of how to take him away, he already knew that she was the ghost doctor. This banquet was said to be a welcoming banquet, so he could take the opportunity to make a fortune. This little fatty, it was no wonder he was called a miser. Thinking of that white and fat little fatty, full of wealth, calling out a name that was as elegant as beautiful jade, she couldn't help but smile. Ning Lang was a homonym for Lin Lang, which meant precious and beautiful jade treasures. It could be seen that the city lord couple had high expectations and love for their son, and the little fatty didn't seem to disappoint them. He wasn't as graceful as other youths, but he was also fair and plump, full of wealth and wealth. Perhaps, for parents, seeing their children grow up safely and being fair and tender was enough to satisfy them. Forget it. After being tricked once, I'll find another chance to get back at you. She chuckled and turned around to walk back. She returned to the courtyard and sat for a while. Not long after, Duan Yi opened the door from the other room and walked out. "I think I heard you go out." He couldn't help but look at the people sitting around him. He asked hesitantly, "What's going on?" "Teet teet teet teet." Chapter 956. Hearing this, the city lord furrowed his brows in astonishment and his expression darkened. If this was true, then one of the two youths who came today must be the ghost doctor. Other than that, there were no other guests in the city lord's manor. However, if one of them really was the ghost doctor, then Lang had leaked the news and invited them to the banquet at the price of 100,000 gold each. This method was inappropriate. Just as he was about to ask the madam to find out what was going on, he saw the housekeeper walking towards them with a smile on his face. "Master, madam, the young master and his 2 friends are here." Hearing this, everyone quickly turned to look. They saw that among the 3 youths, the one leading the way was the city lord's son, Ning Lang. His chubby figure could be recognized at a glance. As for the 2 youths behind him, one was dressed in luxurious purple robes and had an imposing air of nobility, while the other was dressed in red robes and had a wanton and ostentatious air. Their gazes instinctively fell on the red-robed youth. When they saw that handsome yet somewhat devilish face, their eyes lit up and they all stood up. "The ghost doctor. It really is the ghost doctor. Not bad, not bad. I also have a portrait of the ghost doctor. The real person is even more handsome and dazzling than the portrait. I didn't expect this. The ghost doctor is actually a youth. I always thought that he would be an old man or a middle-aged man. I didn't expect him to be so young. Ghost doctor, I am." In a moment, one by one, they rushed forward and surrounded Fengjiu. Their words were filled with excitement and their hearts were filled with excitement. Surrounding Fengjiu, some people asked for medicine, some asked for pills, and some asked for treatment. It could be said that this person said one sentence after another, not giving Fengjiu a chance to speak or time to react. Duan Yi, who had been pushed to the side, frowned and glanced at the smiling Ning Lang, asking, "Fatty, what ghost doctor? Is this your doing?" "He, Duan Yi, don't you know? He's the ghost doctor. Recently, it's been spread all over the big countries that one of his medicines can help people advance, and one pill can restore a person's youthful appearance. His medical skills are superb, and it's said that he's a ghost doctor who can snatch people from the king of hell. Thus, he's called the ghost doctor." "Him? That's impossible, right?" Duan Yi was slightly startled as he stared at Fengjiu. Although he was surrounded by a crowd, his expression did not change. There was even a faint smile on his handsome face. However, the gaze that he inadvertently glanced at him made him feel strange. Therefore, he elbowed Ning Lang, who was beside him. "Fatty, did you offend him? Why did I see him looking at you with such a strange gaze?" "I'm telling you." After saying that, he didn't say anything else. The scene of Fengjiu killing people flashed before his eyes, and he felt a little apprehensive. Looking at him, who usually seemed harmless, he felt that compared to him, he was more dangerous and unfathomable. This fatty better not offend him. Otherwise, he was sure that even if he didn't die, he would make him lose a few pounds of fat. "I'll just—" Ning Lang was about to speak when he was stopped. "Lang, come over here." The city lord glared at his chubby son with a dark face, anger surging in his heart. Chapter 957. Ning Lang walked over and asked excitedly, "Father, are you surprised?" "Surprised? Humph. If you're surprised, there's no surprise." City Lord Ning's face darkened as he snorted heavily and asked angrily, "The ghost doctor came to our house. Since you recognized her, why didn't you tell me? You even used 100,000 gold per invitation to invite people from various families. You're such a bastard." "What does it matter? I only pulled the strings so that they could see the ghost doctor. Besides, look, they've all surrounded him. If he were to take out the medicine to sell, it would be a considerable sum of money. I've even helped him." Hearing this, City Lord Ning shook his head helplessly. "Son, not everyone thinks the same way as you. Do you think that just because his medicine can be sold at a sky-high price, he has to quickly refine more medicine to sell? No, to him, he doesn't have to sell the medicine. In this world, not everything can be bought with money. He lectured in a serious tone and gestured for him to look at the surrounded red-clothed youth. People who want to buy his medicine will buy it no matter what, whether it's at a sky-high price or through bartering. As long as they feel that it's worth it, they will spend the money. His medicine won't be sold, as long as it's not enough. Your actions today, you didn't ask for his opinion, did you? But I also brought him a chance to earn money. Isn't he happy that he can earn money? Do you think that refining medicine is so easy? Just by thinking about it? Nothing is easy. Refining medicine and pills are even more so. Otherwise, this world wouldn't value alchemists and medicine so much. Ning Lang moved his mouth but didn't say anything. He was originally very smart. When his father said this, he understood. Therefore, he seemed to know that his actions today were too much. They came all the way here to see you, they must value you as a friend. Tell me, what kind of bastard things have you done? Now that it's like this, how do you think we should end this? He scratched his head and lowered it, not knowing what to do. On the other side, Fengjiu smiled distantly and said, "Everyone, I'm sorry." She walked out from the crowd and looked at Ning Lang. "Didn't you say you would treat us to a big meal tonight? Well, how about this? I'll treat you guys to a meal," he suggested, intending to apologize to him after they went out. "No need, just eat here. However, it's time to serve the dishes. Duan Yi just said that he was hungry," she said with a smile, looked at City Lord Ning and his wife, and cupped her hands in greeting. City Lord's wife. Ghost Doctor need not be so courteous. Please take a seat," the City Lord said, hurriedly inviting him to take a seat. "My name is Fengjiu, City Lord can just call me Fengjiu." She and Duan Yi sat down together. Seeing this, the others also sat down. "Steward, tell them to serve the dishes. Go to the wine cellar and take out my precious jar of spirit wine," the City Lord ordered. "Yes." The butler hurriedly turned around and left. "Everyone, this is all my son's fault. I will punish myself with 3 cups of wine and apologize to everyone." Chapter 958. Fengjiu glanced at Ning Lang and chuckled. "It's alright, this isn't much." Anyway, she planned to wait until she threw him into the Hell Mountain range to temper his temper. When they reached that place, she wouldn't have to worry about not having a chance to teach him a lesson. When everyone saw this, they were secretly surprised. It seemed that this young Master Ning was secretly making 100,000 gold taels without anyone's knowledge. When they saw that the situation wasn't quite right, they didn't ask for any more pills or medicine. After the servants served the food and wine, the City Lord looked at Fengjiu and Duan Yi and said with a smile, "The 2 of you aren't from here, so we'll serve you with local ingredients today." He pointed at a plate in front of him with 2 king crabs on it. These are the king crabs unique to the Snow Sea. You can't eat them anywhere else. Unlike other places, the king crabs in the Snow Sea can be caught all year round. The crab roe is plump all year round. It can be said to be the best delicacy here. Please have a taste. Fengjiu saw these king crabs earlier. These things weren't common in the Phoenix dynasty. Even if they were, they wouldn't be this big. For someone like her who loved good food, she only wanted to eat after seeing such delicious king crabs. "Then we won't stand on ceremony." As she spoke, she didn't look at anyone else. She picked up a small pair of scissors and cut off the crab's leg first, then opened the crab's lid. When the others saw him eating the crab skillfully, they couldn't help but be secretly surprised. These king crabs were only available here. Could it be that he had eaten them elsewhere? Looking at his technique, he wasn't unfamiliar at all. On the other hand, the baby-faced youth in purple stared at the king crab in front of him but didn't know where to start. In the end, he directly asked a servant girl behind him to serve him the meal. The City Lord ordered the steward to bring the spirit wine and let him fill everyone's cups. They chatted while eating. Everyone was tactful and knew that they shouldn't talk about other things during the meal. Therefore, they only talked about some romantic things. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, the things on the table were cleaned up, and the spirit wine was poured for them again. Even though it was already late, no one wanted to leave. Instead, they were hesitating about what to say. Compared to the others, one of the husband and wife looked at each other and then stood up, cupping their hands in greeting towards Fengjiu. "Ghost Doctor, I am the head of the He family in the city, and this is my wife. Tonight, because we know that the Ghost Doctor's medical skills are superb, and you have the ability to bring people back to life, we wish to ask the Ghost Doctor to save my son. As long as the Ghost Doctor is willing to save him, this he will remember the Ghost Doctor's great kindness. If there is anything this He family needs this He family's help in the future, this He family will not hesitate to die 10,000 times. Young Master Feng, please save my son." That madam he wiped away her tears, her face full of grief. "We know that young Master Feng won't easily save people, but please understand the feelings of a mother. We really have no other way." The others looked at Fengjiu, their thoughts stirring. They knew about the He family's son. He was a rather outstanding youth, but it was said that he had some kind of bone-eroding wind poison. Both his legs were useless. They invited many doctors, even pharmacists and alchemists, but they all said that there was no way to save him. If he wanted to live, they could only chop off his 2 legs. Chapter 959. Seeing that everyone's eyes were on Fengjiu, Duan Yi, who was sitting to the side, looked at him in surprise and asked, "Are you really the Ghost Doctor? Are your medical skills very powerful?" Along the way, he had only seen him kill people quickly. He didn't know that he could save people. The Ghost Doctor? He had heard of this person before, and was said to be a very powerful person. However, what was powerful was not his skills, but his medicine and pills. A concubine of a first-class country had eaten one of his pills to regain favor. This matter had caused a great uproar in the kingdom of Qing, and everyone was clamoring for the Ghost Doctor's face-nourishing pill. And it seemed that his father had also sent people out to find the Ghost Doctor's whereabouts. Thinking of the description of the Ghost Doctor in the rumors, he couldn't help but glance sideways at the handsome young man in red beside him. If they hadn't mentioned him, he wouldn't have thought of him. Now that they had mentioned it, there really were some similarities. Fengjiu glanced at Duan Yi beside him and didn't answer his question. Instead, he looked at the He couple and said, "What illness does your son have? What did the doctors in the past say?" Hearing this, the couple couldn't help but be surprised and hurriedly said, "We invited many doctors to examine our home. They all said the same thing. They said it was bone-eroding wind poison. We don't know where it came from. We only know that the doctors said it was necrosis of the bones. Because it has been a long time, the situation is getting worse. 2 days ago, a doctor came to see him and said that if he wanted to live, he had to cut off his legs. But my son refused." Speaking of this, Madame He wiped away her tears and said, "He is still young. If he loses his legs, what will he do? We heard that the Ghost Doctor's medical skills are amazing, so we sent people to ask around for information about the Ghost Doctor. Who would have thought that we would hear from the young master of the Ning family that the Ghost Doctor was in the manor? So we came to ask the Ghost Doctor to save my son." "Bone-eroding wind poison?" Fengjiu whispered. "This isn't as simple as necrosis of the bones. Bone-eroding wind poison corrodes the bones, and fire poison attacks the organs. There is no saving the person. Ghost Doctor, you must have a way, right? You have to save my son, please save my son. I can pay any price, even if you want my life." Patriarch He begged. As parents, they were willing to give up everything for their children, even if it meant their lives. "What's the point of him taking your life? Let me tell you, he likes women, especially extremely beautiful ones. You might as well give him a beauty than anything else." Duan Ye's voice suddenly rang out. Everyone was stunned and looked at Fengjiu with strange expressions. The ghost doctor likes beauties? Really? If that was the case, it would be easy. As a result, they were all thinking in their hearts, which of their daughters had reached the right age, or which of the women their families had raised to serve others with their looks were suitable. Hearing Duan Ye's unexpected words, Fengjiu glared at him. Don't talk nonsense. This baby face, what did he say that she liked beauties the most? She was a woman. Why would she like a woman? What's more, how could he tell that she liked women? Chapter 960. Hearing this, the corner of her mouth twitched. That is pure admiration. When a man looks at a woman, it is not pure admiration, it is all-colored admiration. Duan Yi had an I knew it expression. He did not believe Fengjiu's words at all. Fengjiu could not be bothered to say more to him. She looked towards the he couple and said, "How about this? I will go to your residence tomorrow morning to take a look. The situation will depend on the illness." Originally, she planned to wait for Ning Lang's answer tomorrow. Regardless of whether he agreed or not, she was going to take him away. However, meeting this person who was seeking medical treatment, just like what Madam He said, all parents in the world have the heart. Seeing their own son suffering, the pain of being unable to save him at any time, was even more unacceptable than taking their own lives. Although she was a cold-hearted person, she was also a sentimental person. She protected the people she valued and did not wish for the people she cherished to be hurt. Towards those who wanted to kill her and take her life, she could also be cold and merciless. But towards this kind of selfless and unconditional relationship between parents and children, she could not ignore it. It was one thing if she did not meet it, but now that she met it and they came begging, she would help if she could. Anyway, this kind of thing to her was just a matter of using her hands, but to others it was a chance to live. Hearing this, the he couple was extremely emotional and hurriedly thanked. "Thank you, Ghost Doctor. Thank you, Ghost Doctor. We will immediately go back and tell this news to our son. Tomorrow we will definitely bring Ghost Doctor to our house." Both of them were extremely emotional. After thanking her profusely, they went back home, intending to tell this news to their son. The others watched the two of them leave. Someone opened his mouth and said, "Ghost Doctor, we..." Before he could finish, he was interrupted. "Everyone, please go back. No matter if it is medicine or elixirs, I have not refined them recently and have nothing to sell to you. Furthermore, my elixirs and medicines will only be auctioned and will not be sold privately." Fengjiu stood up, patted her robes and said to the city lord and his wife, "It is already late, I will go back and rest first." As she said that, she cupped her hands and bowed, then turned around and left. Duan Yi also stood up when he saw this. He walked to Ning Lang's side and put his hand on his shoulder. "Little fatty, let's go. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Let's have a good chat tonight." As he spoke, he directly pulled her away without caring about the consequences. Seeing this, the city lord and his wife exchanged a glance. Then, the city lord said to the others, "Everyone, I, Ning, will return the 100,000 gold coins my son received from all of you." He truly lacked consideration and was too disrespectful. I, Ning, apologize to all of you again. I hope that everyone will forgive my son and not bicker with him. City Lord Ning's words are too serious. There is no need to return the 100,000 gold coins. Tonight I can see the Ghost Doctor. Even if I can't get the medicine, this money is still worth it. As one of them spoke, he stood up and cupped his hands in greeting. He smiled and said, "I'll take my leave first. I'll visit again another day." "That's right, there's no need to return this 100,000 gold. It's not a lot of money, so let's leave it at that. We'll take our leave as well." The others also stood up and said with a smile. Chapter 961. As a result, everyone took their leave one after another. The city lord personally sent them out, and only after the guests had all left did he return inside and say to his wife, "I never thought that Lang would do such a thing after recognizing the ghost doctor's identity. Say, do you think this matter will really be let go? Lang should not have known the ghost doctor at first. I think the ghost doctor should be young Master Duan's friend. That's why they came here together." As the city lord's wife said that, she thought for a moment and said, "Let them settle this matter themselves. We cannot interfere too much in their matters." And that's true. The city lord nodded and returned to the courtyard with his wife without saying anything else. On the other side, Duanyi hugged Ning Lang and asked, "Little fatty, you really cheated those people of 100,000 gold each? Also, how did you recognize Feng Jiu as the ghost doctor? You didn't even tell me that you recognized him? You're not a good friend." Ning Lang scratched his head and said embarrassedly, "This, you also know that I like money. Once there's an opportunity to earn money, I won't let it go. So..." He looked at the tightly shut door and asked hesitantly, "Do you think it's better if I go in and apologize?" "Apologize? Haha." Duanyi laughed softly and patted him on the shoulder. Selling Fengjiu isn't something that can be settled with just an apology. Hurry up and go back to sleep. Isn't he still waiting for your answer? Think about it and tell him. I think it will be more useful than your apology." Hearing this, Ning Lang frowned and nodded. "I understand. I will go back and think about it." As he said that, he wanted to turn around and leave. However, he still walked to the tightly shut door. "Fengjiu, I'm sorry. I went overboard tonight. I'm sorry. You must forgive me." As he said that, he did not hear any movement inside. Thus, he turned around and left. He returned to his courtyard and thought about whether he should go to the Hell Mountain Range. Initially, he had only promised to give the answer the next day to stall for time. He had wanted to keep the other party around so that he could earn some money. However, he had never expected things to turn out like this. He really shouldn't have done that. At that time, he had only thought of getting someone to send out those posts for 100,000 gold coins. He hadn't thought of the final outcome. Duanyi watched Ning Lang leave with his head lowered. After a long while, he knocked on Fengjiu's door and shouted, "Fengjiu, you still haven't told me how you became the ghost doctor?" However, there was still no sound from inside. Seeing this, he pushed the door but found that it was locked. He had no choice but to give up. "I'm going to the He family tomorrow. Don't disturb me. Go back and rest." Fengjiu's voice came from inside. He still did not open the door. "When you go to the He family tomorrow, remember to call me along. I'll go take a look too," he instructed before turning around and returning to his room. That night, for some people, they would not be able to sleep. However, for Fengjiu and Duanyi, once they rested, they fell into a deep sleep under the influence of alcohol. The next morning, the warm sunlight shone on the ground. The gentle light shone through the leaves and cast a shadow on the ground. A cool breeze blew, and the leaves swayed from the branches and fell to the ground in the courtyard. Chapter 962. At the same time, the He family head who had arrived early did not dare disturb him. He could only wait outside for him to wake up. After another hour, Fengjiu finally woke up. He remembered that he had to go to the He family to treat the He family's young master, so he got up to wash up. Not long after, he went out of the courtyard and called for Duanyi to bring some breakfast over. He ate while waiting for Duanyi. After another hour, the two of them finished eating and went to the front yard. They saw the He family head quickly greet them. "Ghost Doctor. Sorry, I woke up late," she said apologetically. No, I came early," the He family head quickly said. Looking at the red-clothed youth in front of him, he respectfully said, "Ghost Doctor, the carriage is ready. Ghost Doctor and Duke Duan, please get on the carriage." Fengjiu nodded and walked out with him. The two of them got on a luxurious carriage. The He family head personally rode in front to lead the way. Some people who didn't know saw this scene and were surprised. They secretly asked around. About an hour later, they arrived at the He manor. Madam He had already brought people to wait outside. When she saw them arrive, she quickly went to greet them. After bowing, she invited them in. Ghost Doctor, this is my Hong Er's courtyard. Because his legs are inconvenient and he can't get out of bed, he couldn't come out to greet you. I hope the Ghost Doctor won't take offense. The He family head said. I won't. Fengjiu shook his head and walked in. Once inside, the smell of medicine entered her nose. The entire air was filled with an aura of death. She didn't need to look to know that this person was sick to the point of death. Open the windows and doors for ventilation, she indicated. Hearing this, Madam He quickly had people open the windows and doors. She walked with Fengjiu to the side of the bed. Hong Er, this is the Ghost Doctor young Master Feng. Quickly greet young Master Feng. Greetings to young Master Feng. I can't get out of bed to greet you. I hope young Master Feng won't take offense. Fengjiu's gaze fell on the man lying on the bed. The man was around 25 years old. His face was thin and pale. When he spoke, his voice was weak. In contrast to his pale face, his lips were red like fire. Seeing this, she nodded her head. Let me see your legs. Hearing this, the He family head walked forward and lifted the blanket on his son. The person under the blanket was only wearing a pair of short underwear. His two legs were shockingly swollen, and his skin was dark with a tinge of red. Seeing this, Fengjiu frowned slightly. She took a step forward and reached out to feel the temperature of his legs. Sure enough, it was as hot as fire. She frowned and looked at his legs. After a moment of thought, she said, Lift up his shirt. Okay. The He family head hurriedly responded. He lifted his son's shirt and looked at Fengjiu. He didn't dare disturb him. Even though he was anxious, he could only watch silently. Fengjiu glanced at his abdomen and pressed down again. When she saw the man's pained expression, she withdrew her hand and said, The fire poison is already attacking upwards. At this time, the fire poison in his internal organs has already spread. If he is not treated within 3 days, he will undoubtedly die. Madam He heard this and her legs went soft as she cried and begged. I beg the Ghost Doctor to save my son. I beg the Ghost Doctor, I only have this one son. Chapter 963. Hearing this, family head He's heart was filled with joy as he hurriedly replied, Good. What medicine does the Ghost Doctor need? I'll immediately send someone to bring it over. He then walked out with him. Duan Yi, who was following behind, glanced at the person on the bed and thought to himself, How can he be cured when he's this sick? He really has some skills. Hong Er, did you hear that? The Ghost Doctor said that nothing will happen. He said that nothing will happen. Madam He wiped her tears and stayed in the room to accompany her son. At the same time, she shed tears of joy because of Fengjiu's words. He Hong revealed a weak smile. Mother, don't cry. He knew his own situation and knew that he wouldn't be able to live. As for this Ghost Doctor that his parents had invited, he had never heard of him before. He only believed 30% of his words, especially when he was still so young. How could he completely believe the words of a teenager? Even so, he knew that his parents were worried and could only cooperate. He was neither sad nor happy because he had already prepared for the worst, which was death. Even if the end result was death, he didn't care. However, his heart was still worried about his parents and he couldn't let go of them. He was the only son they had left. Thinking of this, the tears in the corners of his eyes couldn't help but flow out. They dripped onto the pillow and disappeared without a trace. Fengjiu first prescribed a medicine for him and had them boil it. He also had him buy the medicine according to the prescription. family head, he didn't dare delay, and quickly ordered his trusted aide to boil the medicine. He picked the medicine that the manor had and personally went out to buy the medicine that they didn't have. Duan Yi had been following by Feng Jiu's side the entire time. Seeing that she had been busy for half a day, he sat down at the table and asked, "Are you sure you can cure him?" "I don't think it's easy to cure him. I've treated the bone-eroding wind poison before, so it can be cured. However, it took too long for him to fully recover, so it's impossible for him to fully recover in a short period of time. However, after using the medicine, his life can be saved. As for the fire poison in his body and the damage to his body, he can slowly recuperate." She poured a cup of tea and drank it as she explained to him. Hearing this, Duan Yi supported his baby face with one hand and looked at him in confusion. "You really came from a 7th-rank country?" Feng Jiu softly laughed. "What? You don't believe me?" He nodded his head. "How could a small 7th-ranked country have someone like you?" He only softly laughed and didn't say anything else. Thus, he didn't ask any more. After an hour, Patriarchy walked in quickly with sweat all over his forehead. Ghost Doctor, I've found all the herbs. Find me a quiet courtyard, I will concoct some medicine for you." She stood up and said. Even Duan Yi was outside. With a. "This is a pill. 1 pill a day is enough. You'll be fine after you finish this pill." Telling him this, just finish it. She looked at the sky and asked, "After a few hours, your son should have a reaction after drinking the medicine, right?" Chapter 964. This is normal. He has fire poison in his body, so this is the only way to expel it. Alright, it's getting late, I have to go. As she spoke, she glanced at Duan Yi at the side. Duan Yi stood up and walked to her side. Hearing that she was about to leave, Patriarchy hurriedly said, "Ghost Doctor, please wait a moment." As he spoke, he gave an order in a low voice. Not long after, the housekeeper hurriedly brought something over. "Ghost Doctor, this is a treasure that I obtained by chance. It's just a token of my respect. I ask the Ghost Doctor to accept it." Feng Jiu originally wanted to say no, but when her gaze fell on the red cloth on the tray, her brows slightly moved, asking, "What is this?" "This is the red sky silk, an ancient treasure that my ancestors obtained by chance. It has always been kept in my He family." Patriarchy said, looking at Feng Jiu, saying, "The Ghost Doctor saved my son and I have no way to repay you. Knowing that the Ghost Doctor likes red clothes, I thought of this treasure in my house. Today, I present it to the Ghost Doctor. I hope the Ghost Doctor will accept it." Feng Jiu's eyes moved, reaching out her hand to take it. Of course she knew about this red sky silk. It was a legendary treasure in the modern era. She never thought that there would be such a thing in the air. Mixed in the silk, it was 7 feet long and could not be cut by swords. It could be used to defend, attack, control, bind enemies, be used as a belt, or be used as a hand to tie the silk. Could be said that this treasure was really not bad. Since it is so, I will accept it. She revealed a smile as she spoke. Good. Patriarchy happily nodded, personally sending them out. Even if the red sky silk was an ancient treasure, it was rarely revealed in front of people in their house. The people in their house could not use it, nor did they dare to use it. If one did not have a certain level of strength and influence, who would dare to reveal such a treasure in front of people? Sitting in the carriage, seeing him playing with the red silk called the red sky silk, Duan Yi could not help but curl her lips. This red silk is clearly a woman's plaything. I really don't know what good treasure it is. This red silk is indeed not suitable for everyone. Women are not picky, but not many men like this kind of thing. As she spoke, she raised her smiling eyes. However, I happen to like this kind of thing. 2 prescriptions and 1 bottle of medicine are enough to cure that person? His 2 legs are so swollen that it's scary. He frowned as he spoke. He hadn't seen it with his own eyes, so he still didn't quite believe it. However, the He couple treated Fengjiu like a god. They believed whatever he said. It was really strange. Returning to the city lord's mansion, they saw the fatty sitting at the door waiting for the 2 of them. Seeing him, the 2 of them looked at each other. Duan Yi went up and asked, "Little fatty, why are you sitting here? Don't call me little fatty again. Call me Ning Lang." He glared at Duan Yi with dissatisfaction and emphasized again. He then looked at Fengjiu with a fawning expression and said with a smile, "Fengjiu, I have something to tell you. And let's talk inside." She nodded and walked inside. The 2 people behind her hurriedly followed. No one noticed that the position of host and guest seemed to have been reversed. Even Duan Yi did not realize that he had unknowingly followed Fengjiu instinctively. The steward led her to the city lord's courtyard. The city lord and madam were in the middle of a discussion when they heard the housekeeper's report. They couldn't help but be startled. They hurriedly got up and went out to welcome the guest. Seeing the red figure in the courtyard, the husband and wife looked at each other and walked forward. "Young Master Feng, do you have any orders for us?" Fengjiu smiled. "No, I have some things to discuss with the 2 of you. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.